Welcome back to the Ed Show. Progressives are up against a generational effort to destroy public education in this country. This is an issue that will affect every family in the United States. New York City's Mayor Bill de Blasio is working to slow the growth of charter schools and improve public schools. His commitment is being met with criticism and a slew of conservatives who love the idea of diverting taxpayer money from public schools to charter schools. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo rallied in Albany in opposition to the de Blasio effort on Tuesday.
We are here today to tell you that we stand with you. You are not alone. We will save charter schools.
Eva Moskowitz, the CEO of Success Academy Schools Network, is angry. Mayor de Blasio is refusing to grant 3 of her schools space in city school buildings.
Parents are very determined, and it's actually just morally wrong. He's trying to close the highest performing middle school in math in the entire state of New York in 5th grade. I don't think anyone can get away with that. It's 194 kids who've been with us since kindergarten. They have a right to a great free public education.
What's at issue here, Moskowitz is expecting to be given free space to run her charter schools and bring in a huge paycheck for herself. Charter school administrators may cry poverty over the threat that de Blasio will charge them rent for their spaces, but the people who run charter schools rake in the big bucks. At least 16 charter school CEOs, including Eva Moskowitz, earned more money than the New York City Schools Chancellor Dennis Walcott in 2011-2012 school year. You see, conservatives love charter schools because it's privatization. Many liberals think charter schools are a new form of modern-day segregation, where they're picking and choosing kids out of neighborhoods. The lack of investment in public education is the major concern when it comes to equal opportunity for children. Joining me tonight for our rapid response panel again, Diane Ravitch, research professor of education at New York University, and Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, MSNBC political analyst and professor at Georgetown University. Michael, I want to ask you first. Is this a form of segregation, modern-day segregation? Not every kid gets to go to a charter school.
Well, it's even worse than that. Absolutely. The reality is that not only is it a form of segregation, but we're cherry picking the kids that will survive. So this is sort of like Sophie's Choice in the ghetto. You make a choice between saving your children by going to public school so that all of the resources there can be democratized, or in the face of shrinking resources and the inability of this government to foster critical resources and direct them toward public education, you want to bail your kid out of a failing school and put that kid in a charter school. But the reality is, unless we begin to redirect those resources to democratize education and to make equal the funding and resources for all of these schools, we're having a two-tiered system where de facto segregation is organized around the dollars of the public, and we are asked to co-sign that, as opposed to, in your case, and in, I think, Ms. Ravitch's case, to resist that and say, as Professor Ravitch would say, to engage in a more democratized form of education for all.
Diane Ravitch, you have got their words morally wrong. That's what Moskowitz is saying. Your response to that?
Well, I think that her charters are suspect because, first of all, as Michael Dyson said, they do not take in every child who applies. They exclude kids with severe disabilities. They exclude kids who don't speak English. They cherry pick. They have a very high attrition rate. And the number of kids who come in shrink because they don't replace the kids who leave. They choose the schools. They choose the children. And it is where we're heading with schools like Eva Moskowitz is towards having a dual school system. One for the kids who've been chosen by the charters and another for everybody else.
She says the parents should be able to get the resources.
Well, the parents aren't getting the resources now. What we need in this country is what the other high-performing, or what the high-performing nations have. What high-performing nations have is no charters, no vouchers, a great teaching profession, and great public schools. That's what you see in all of the world's highest-performing countries.
Dr. Dyson, it's very clear the schools that don't get the resources end up failing. So is that the key?
Of course. I mean, look, when you have disparities between suburban schools that have $60 to $100 million new schools, where you have high-speed internet, where you have zoological experimentation, where you have aquaria, and then you have inner-city schools that are being virtually starved, where you can't even get first-hand textbooks or running water, then you see the disparity there. If you're spending per capita on students $1,000 to $2,000 more per student, and in some cases much more than that, on suburban schools than inner-city schools, of course you're going to get a different kind of product.
So charter schools are making it worse. Charter schools are putting the squeeze on the fundamental system of education that brought this country to greatness.
Well, there's no question about that. Imagine if Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin, and some of the other founding fathers that people are likely to lift up had been subject to such an arbitrary distribution of educational resources. Of course, we're creating a two-tiered system, as Diane Ravitch has just indicated. And the problem is those students who are poor people, people of color, and other people without the sufficient means are the ones who are getting left behind in a time when we need rapid proliferation of technical education as well as humanities, and they're being left behind in the process.
Diane, why does Governor Cuomo love charter schools?
Well, it's very simple, and this has been printed in the newspapers. He's received $800,000 in campaign contributions from hedge fund managers in Wall Street, and hedge fund managers love charter schools because they like privatization. They like the market. And what they're pushing for is a market-based form of education where the schools, there's consumer choice. They do not believe in public education. They don't send their own children to public schools.
So they think they're entitled to taxpayer buildings. That's what it comes down to.
Right.
For free, that they shouldn't have to pay.
Right. And bear in mind, in New York State, 3% of the children are in charter schools. Governor Cuomo is responsible for 100%, not 3%.
Well, if you listen to the proponents of the charter schools, you think almost every kid is in a charter school, and de Blasio is putting the shaft to them.
I mean, de Blasio did not attack charter schools. He was given 49 approvals that had been forwarded to him by Mayor Bloomberg, who was very pro-charter, being a billionaire himself, like all the other billionaires. De Blasio approved 39 out of 49 new charters. He gave Eva Moskowitz 3 new charters, and he denied her 3. And she's on a warpath, taking out full-page ads in the New York Times, going on television, spending millions to say, I can't pay rent.
And Professor Dyson, she makes $500,000 a year herself and acts like a victim because she isn't getting free rent. What do you make of that?
The privatization of education is the undermining and undoing of American education for those who are stuck at the bottom and those who are most vulnerable. Of course, if you're extremely bright and you stand out in the crowd, you will get chosen, but many bright people don't get chosen, and beyond that, those who don't mature until later will get left behind. This is a radical inequality that needs to be contested.
Diane Ravitch and also Michael Eric Dyson, great to have both of you with us.